What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. What is happening, everybody? How are we doing? John Middlekauff, 3 and Out Podcast. Hopefully everyone is having a good Friday. And the game plan today will be a little thing we call the Middlekauff Mailbag. We're going to empty the clip here, do a big mailbag. So at John Middlekauff is the Instagram. Fire in those DMs. We're doing a big mailbag. It's Fugazi Friday, but we're going to be happy today. No Fugazis today because it's Masters weekend, and I'm just going to bang out a bunch of mailbag questions. So fire in those DMs. We'll get you next week. It's obviously a little slower time in the lead up to the draft. So fire in those DMs and get your question answered here on the show. But before we dive in, I got to tell you about my friends, my partners, and the official ticketing app of this podcast, Game Time. Best ticketing app I've ever used by a mile. We got baseball in full swing, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. You want to go to any event, concert, comedy show, download that app. You can search by venue. You can search by team. You can search by price point at the arena or the stadium or the venue that you're looking at. It kind of maps it out. It gives you sight lines. It doesn't get any easier to use. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, guys. Let's start with this question. Huge Bills fan. Very proud of our team, despite not coming through when it mattered. My question is about coaching during the game. Obviously, we were having trouble with the Tush Push versus the Chiefs. On the pivotal 4th and 1, who's making the call in that scenario? Is it Brady or is it McDermott? Or is it Joe and McDermott approving it in real time? I think the thing that makes football so fascinating that is a question that the only people that know that answer, like Josh Allen probably doesn't even know that answer, right? They have to buzz in to get to the headset. That could be just the offensive coaching staff. I would imagine during the week, I think it's fair to assume that they thought, and rightfully so, that Josh Allen, who's a thoroughbred, could convert short yardage situations. And it was not working in that game. Now, late in the game, I think there were multiple spots in the second half. Does Brady go, hey, coach, you still like this quarterback sneaks? Or do you want to try something else? Very possible. Could it be just like McDermott lets him call the game, and if he's got an opinion, hey, Joe, let's mix in a screen pass. Hey, Joe, let's mix in a play action bootleg. Sure, I mean, he's the boss. I don't know. That's a great question. I think because they kept running it, I think it's fair to assume that he just let Brady call the game. Because if they would have tried something else, you would think that he would have chimed in on the headset like, hey, let's throw a curveball here. But not only did they not throw a curveball, they were like throwing BP fastballs. Mike, Carolina Panther fan here. I know we're still owned by Tepper and have the worst defense statistically in NFL history. I did not know that. But have we graduated from the little porta potty Panthers? It was a roller coaster. For Canales and even Bryce did look like a real player in the last 9 weeks. And it seems like him and Dan Morgan and the GM are aligned. What are your thoughts? For those of you new to the show, early on in the year, when they looked like one of the worst teams in the history of the sport, I nicknamed them the Porta Potty Panthers because they were so smelly. Like when you get into a porta potty in the summer and that humidity and that heat, and even if you just need to take a leak and you look down and the toilet seat's up and there's like Mount Everest down there of just disgustingness. And that smell when you're trapped in there, even if it's just for 30 or seconds or 45 seconds. I remember a couple years ago, I went to Morgan Wallen at Chase Field in the heat of summer in Arizona. and the porta potties. I mean, it was rough, man. It was rough. I saw one of the amateurs today at the Masters. He's actually from Arizona State. He's a Spanish kid. He went he took a piss into the creek on like the 13th hole, which I can't imagine Augusta was cool with, but he said he really had to pee and he did it. So I would say yes, you graduated from the Porta Potty Panthers. And to me, the coolest part, if I'm a Panther fan, your team roster wise is pretty shitty last year. Should be vastly improved. Now, does that mean 9, 10 wins? I don't know. But it did look early in the season like Bryce Young was headed to the UFL. I mean, it looked like he was an all-time bust. Now, I don't know if he's ever going to live up to being the number one player in the NFL draft, but he was really good. I watched a decent amount of you guys down the stretch. Like he was a good player. So listen, you don't start from Nick Saban for multiple seasons without being really mentally tough. Like I'm not the biggest Tua guy as a player. I respect his mental toughness. If you play for Nick and start at any position, let alone quarterback, like you got some serious shit to you. And I think Bryce kind of proved that last year of like not getting rid of me this easy. You think I'm gonna fucking tap out? So congrats to him. What are your thoughts on a head coach and coordinator switching roles on a different team? Like Staley and Kellen Moore, who was the OC and head coach of the Chargers. Now Moore and Staley are the head coach and the DC for the Saints. I just think it's like a little I scratch your back, you scratch my back. It's a unique business where there aren't that many jobs. There are only 32 head coach, DC, and OC jobs. So when a guy takes care of you when you get fired, it does feel like guys take care of them on the reverse. Uh, I think highly of Kellen Moore. I'm a big fan. I Brandon Staley's one of my biggest red flags in my life. Any walk of life, any industry, politics included. But he took care of Kellen, so I think Kellen kind of paid him back. I would not have done that. I'd hire someone I didn't know who's good, but Kellen hired him. I don't even think Brandon Staley is that good of a defensive coordinator. He had one good year as a defensive coordinator with the Rams when they had Aaron Donald in the prime of his career, who's basically like Reggie White or Lawrence Taylor, and Jalen Ramsey in the COVID season. But and you got to be careful. Like if the defensive coordinator sucks, you're an offensive head coach as the play caller, it can get you in trouble. The fight for the jacket is on in Augusta. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook. From the opening round through Championship Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with live betting, player props, and so much more. Have you never bet on golf before? Don't worry, I got you covered. I love it, and I do it all the time. You just have to pick a simple golfer to win the tourney and make your pick. It's that simple. They also got top 10s, top 20s, head-to-head, a lot of different options. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Wonder if you watch McAfee and the Big Night show. I'm a fan and love the show. Great guests, huge giveaways. Are you a McAfee fan? And if you watch the event, what do you think? I have a lot of admiration for what he's built. I mean, he started this thing from scratch and he's built something that Disney has no control over. What a fucking legend. And he's brought his buddies with him. Now, am I like a daily watcher? I'm not. Uh, there are certain interviews I definitely watch of him. I did watch some last night. I clicked on it when Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg came out. I'm like, this is awesome. I mean, Pat and Snoop, they were high. They were higher than a kite. I mean, Snoop's handing Pat, and Pat's like dancing. I'm like, this is, dude, sold out an arena, had Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg getting high on stage. I was like, this guy, man. And I watched when Parker McCollum came out, and then Sidney Crosby and Roethlisberger. So yeah, I got a lot of respect. And when the traditional media hates you, I'm just naturally going to like you because I usually disagree and hate everything they like. And it does feel like that all those type hate Pat. Like Pat's built something like people love going on a show. Love going on a show. It's really impressive what they built from scratch. I have had trouble trying to formulate this question, but I'm going to try to ask you, how do you separate team and city history regarding football? For example, I'm a Colts fan from Indy, and obviously the Colts used to be in Baltimore. So I view the history of the Colts before 84 as Baltimore claim or Indianapolis claim to part of history? You can ask similar questions with the Browns, the Raiders, and the Rams. What city claims team history? Uh, it's a complicated question. I do think if the move happened before you were born and the team claims it, it's like if you're a Laker fan and they say they have whatever 20 titles or whatever that number is, 18. Some of those are from when they were in Minnesota. I don't even know when they moved, 60s. Uh yeah, I mean if you want to claim that, some people will make fun of you. I don't care. Now, if you're the Raider, like if you're a Vegas Raider fan, it depends. Like if you were an Oakland Raider fan and you're like 60 years old, you can claim everything. Right? If you're like 15 years old and you live in Vegas and you're a Raider fan now because they moved, are you claiming like Rich Gannon? That's where it gets weird. If you're a Rams fan in LA and you're like 30 years old, like you don't get to pound your chest about Kurt Warner and Marshall Falk. So I just think it depends. It's a good question. I also think those type things are kind of, I mean, that's like really nerdy argument when you're either really drunk or you just got way too much time on your hands. Like to me, when I close my eyes and think the Colts, I think Harbaugh in the 90s. They actually drafted Marshall Falk. Peyton Manning, Luck. It also, you're right. I mean, it depends how old you are. Johnny Unitas. Big fan of the show. How does a team draft board look? Does a team have a list of 400 players ranked? Or is it more like a board with a few players at each team's projected pick with who they are happy to draft? Curious to hear your teams organize the board. Well, you wouldn't have it like organized by each pick because you trade a lot. So you usually do it, some teams do it by whether you're like a starter, a backup, or a fringe guy. Most teams probably do it by rounds. The board that they kind of go off during the draft. When I was with the Eagles, we probably had more players than most teams. I always heard stories that the Patriots didn't have many players. I don't think it's 400. I would guess I'd have to text some people. Most a good team like the Chiefs or the Ravens would probably have a couple hundred players up there. Now there are going to be players that you go, hey, this guy's going to get drafted in the second round. This guy's going to be a fourth round pick, give or take, right? Going into the draft, like this guy's a draftable player and could get drafted in the top 100 picks, but he's not a scheme fit. Character, no issues. It's like this guy does not fit our team. So you could not put him on the board if you wanted. Again, there are dynamics with the owner. Uh, if you don't have a magnet, it's like, did we evaluate this guy? And the owner looks at everybody. So there are a lot of different variables, but 400 would be a lot because you don't have 400 guys in the draft that you would want. You would only have the guys up on the board that you would want to draft. So I think that number probably somewhere between 175 and 250. Maybe closer to in the high twos because of undrafted free agents as well. Like you do get a lot of names in like the fifth, sixth, seventh round, and maybe you have less in the first couple rounds. So it can be weighted. Like it should be really hard to be a top 100 player, where it's like most guys that are draft eligible that are kind of like in the mix to get drafted. There are going to be a ton of guys in the sixth, seventh, and undrafted free agent range. There's always a shitload of players there. So I also think like I know the Eagles, I think they have a big digital board. So many things are going digitally now that when I was there, we had the magnet and you'd print it out and you'd kind of paste it on the magnet. Those things, I mean, we're probably in the next, I don't know, 5 years max for those not even existing. So once you get to there, it's like it wouldn't even matter. You could just have a board. You could have as many players in the system as you want. Now, you would have to know who you'd want to draft. So you'd have to create a board. But like when you're putting it on the wall, like he's either up there or he's not, right? If it was digitally, I can kind of mess with that a little bit. With your background, could you do your own mock draft with the top five picks? Not what will happen, but what you think you would do as a GM. Let's do it right now. We'll just do a quick one. Titans, I would take a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. Their quarterback position is a joke. Their division sucks. If Cam Ward just turns out to be like pretty good, doesn't even need to be like some star. If he's just a top 15 quarterback, you'd be in pretty good shape. So I think, I mean, who's the best quarterback they've had like the last 20 years? It's like Ryan Tannehill. So I would take him. At two, listen, I have a lot of respect for Travis Hunter, but we talk about this over and over. And assuming he's healthy, which I saw he got medically rechecked and they said it's healing well. I mean, let's face it, he's got a foot issue. So if the foot issue is a question mark, then clearly you take Travis Hunter. But assuming health, which, Drew Rosenhaus, of course he's going to say he's good. If he's healthy, I would take Abdul Carter over Hunter. And at three, I'd take Travis Hunter if I was the Giants. So if I was the Browns, I'd take Carter and just be like, well, we already have Myles Garrett. Well, now I got two of them. Good luck passing against us. Travis Hunter at three would be the easiest pick of all time. I don't know what the Patriots would do because there was a clear drop off. I wouldn't overthink it that much. Like, I think there are a lot of question marks. Kelvin Banks, the offensive lineman from Texas, Will Campbell, the arm length. Because if he does become a guard over the next couple of years, you would really regret taking him at four overall, even if he's a good player. I'd probably just take like, I don't know, Mason Graham, maybe defensive tackle from Michigan. Jags. Shit, I don't know. Top four. Travis Hunter being a two-way player, it made me wonder, why don't more teams in the NFL have offensive packages for DBs? After all, they are typically the fastest and most athletic players on the field. You're assuming they can catch. Usually they play defensive back for a reason. They're not exactly Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb when it comes to their hands. So I think most of these guys don't have great hands. And, well, yeah, a lot of them are fast. Most of the wide receivers are fast too. So unless you're like Dion was, clearly the fastest guy on the field, Dion ran go routes. Like, what routes are these guys running? They're used to backpedaling. As a wide receiver, you're running forward and then cutting right, left, or back. So are they training to run? Do they have good hands? Most of them, I would say, average at best. And they're not training to run routes. So unless you're an absolute blazer, Travis Hunter runs plays. He's been playing wide receiver throughout college. Most of those guys haven't played wide receiver since high school when clearly they were the best player on the field. So I get what you're saying, but I think it's a little more complicated in practice than it is in theory. Love the pod. All signs point to the 49ers paying Purdy. But my question is this. If Sanders is there at 11, why would they not take him? I think Brock is solid, but there are clearly limitations, and we do not envision the Niners beating the top teams in the NFC unless their team is stacked like it was the past few years. It is highly unlikely the roster will be as good again unless Purdy is willing to make 20 or 30 million. But even then, it's still unlikely. Why not reset with a rookie contract and go with Sanders and see if he fits the Shanahan system? Or no, I think he fits the Shanahan system extremely well. If you think Sanders is ready, trade Purdy now for draft capital. And if you don't think he's ready, let him sit for a year while Purdy plays out the last year of his contract. If the Titans knew right now that Shedeur Sanders would be as good as Brock Purdy, they would draft Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward. The notion that Shedeur Sanders will be as good as Brock Purdy, to me, is you're right about the business element to reset the franchise from a contract standpoint. Now, Purdy, he's been really cheap. Shedeur at pick 11, I don't know what, probably make $25 million signing bonus, maybe a little less, but like $4 or $5 million a year. I mean, Purdy was making like $1 million a year. It just, the unknown at that position, you just can't do it. You can't. And I do think they're going to get Purdy. I bet he ends up playing for less than people think, would be my guess. But like teams in the NFC, I mean, Dak Prescott was making $40 million for 3 years and they won 12 games. Jalen Hurts makes a shitload of money. They just won the Super Bowl. Jared Goff's on a massive contract. Like, this is on Kyle and John, but build up the team. Purdy's proven if the team's good enough, you can win. Lions, Eagles, Rams, Cowboys, not last year, but they've all had high-priced quarterbacks, and they've won. My question is around teams who really like a player, say around pick 10 to 12, like the Broncos did last year. But the player's rated as a second-round quarterback or a grade. If you really think that player is great, why not take him with the first pick, knowing he's going to be an immediate starter? Sure, it'll cost you a bit more, and you'll probably not get a great draft grade. But look at the Lions a few years ago. They drafted Gibbs well before people thought because he was a perfect fit. I just don't understand why they take the chance on someone else drafting the player. Well, I don't think the Broncos viewed Bo Nix as a second-round player. I think they viewed Bo Nix as one of the best players in the draft. I think the Lions came out and admitted, like, if we couldn't have got a trade partner, we were ready to take him at pick 6. So, but there's a value, right? Why'd the Lions trade from 6 to 12? Because they were pretty confident that Gibbs was still going to be there. If you are negotiating right now, and I'm sure young people are listening that eventually you're either looking for a home or one day, hopefully, be able to buy a home. Well, if just the home's listed for a $500K or $800K or $1 million, you don't have to pay that. And maybe, depending on the supply and demand, you can get it for cheaper. Or maybe you got to pay more. Well, that's the draft. So it's like, this guy's my favorite player in the draft. But I'm pretty confident he's going to be there at pick 45. I wouldn't take the guy at pick 14. That's fucking terrible business. But if I love Jackson Dart, and I think he's worth I like him somewhere 20 to 30, but I'm drafting at pick 14. But I don't draft again until the middle of the second round. I better highly contemplate taking him at 14 because he's not going to be there when I pick at 50. This is an economic exercise when you pick players. So what you said is 100% correct. If you love a player and you're like, well, this is a little rich. Like, I don't think anyone's going to take him the next 5 picks, but he's probably going to go in the next 15 picks, and we don't draft again for 30 picks, and we don't have any ammo to trade back up. You got to think about taking that guy then. Now, depending on the position, it's like, well, is he a wide receiver? You can find other wide receivers. If we're talking quarterback, you better be willing to pull the trigger. So, like, yeah, a lot of people had second-round grades on Bo Nix. Clearly. I mean, that's not a lie. But the Broncos didn't. And Sean Payton, and I also think it's easier, when you're Sean Payton, when you're Andy Reid, when you're Sean McVay. Like, I don't give a shit what John Middlekauff's going to say about me. What Field Yates or Matt Miller or Dane Brugler or Louis Riddick or anyone that likes talking about the draft is going to say a couple days after me. It does not. Mel Kiper, I don't give a flying you-know-what. But if you're some new, don't have many pelts on the wall like the Jets, can the Jets just get crazy? You better be careful. Look at Raheem Morris last year. Like, that was a little clunky, weird situation. And let's face it, it already feels a little weird going into year 2. Now, if Mike Tomlin had done that, it's like, yeah, he's been doing this for 15, 17, 18, 20 years. So it kind of depends on your status of where you stand. Like whatever Kevin O'Connell wanted to do, whether it was keep Sam Darnold, whether it was sign Aaron Rodgers, whether it's go with JJ, like he's kind of earned the benefit of the doubt. 2 of the last 3 years have been really good. Like we think he knows what he's doing. Could Mike McDaniel pull that off? Probably not. Even though they both have the same amount of playoff wins. 0. What about the Chargers trading for Michael Mayer, the tight end the Raiders drafted at 35 2 years ago? I bet Pete is wanting to grab more picks, maybe a fourth rounder of ours. I think Pete went to the Seahawks. He traded Marshawn for a fourth. He traded for Marshawn. He did. I uh I just don't think the Raiders are trading with the Chargers. It's one thing on the clock or during the draft to make trades with picks. I don't think you're trading a player. Pete Carroll's doing a deal with Jim Harbaugh. I just, and I don't think you can. Like, if you're the Raiders and you are willing to trade Mayer to another team, you're not trading Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh or Andy Reid. He's just not getting traded there. Could you trade him to the Jets or something for sure? You keep him in the AFC, but you're not trading him to one of those teams unless they're willing to give you a super high pick, and they're just not going to. Love the pod. Listening all the way from the UK. I appreciate you. My question is, how did you meet Cowherd and build a good relationship with him? I think I met him on, I don't think, I met him through Twitter. I think we DM'd probably like 2014-ish, 15-ish maybe. And he had me on it. It would have been 14 because I went on his ESPN radio show for several years. He would just have me on as a guest. And then, yeah, I think we met online. Slid into my DMs, or I slid into his. Because when I was doing radio stuff, Phil Savage and Louis Riddick were working at ESPN, and they would go on Cowherd's show. So he started following me, and there was a lot of connections there. And Colin just liked football, so started having me on. What's crazy is like you go on a show now, it's a television show. Back then, you would just call in. This isn't that long ago. This is like 14 and 15 in ESPN radio, and he was their biggest radio star. Shows you how much shit has changed. I mean, you listen to ESPN radio now, fucking thing's gonna fold. Okay, Joshua. I'm a Lions fan, and it feels like Brad Holmes is betting on betting on continuity this year, basically running it back. A lot of fans wanted a splash move, especially at edge. But with upcoming extensions for Hutchinson, Branch, and Kirby, I get why they're playing it safe. Curious to hear your take. Do you prefer the long-term window approach, keeping the roster deep and sustainable for multiple shots, or would you lean toward going all in? Listen, I will always support any GM that wants to take a very, very bold move, trading a bunch of picks for an established player. The Rams did it multiple times. Teams that have traded for Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. Like I always understand why these moves happen, but it takes two to tango. Like the reason that Devontae Adams ended up on the Raiders is because like the Packers were willing to trade him. The reason the Niners landed Christian McCaffrey is like he was available. So I hate, and listen, I talked about this too. It's like go get Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. Well, those two guys got to combine like $250 million. They clearly were not available. If Myles Garrett was available and they didn't make, if not the best offer, like one of the best offers, then yeah, I think you could be critical of them. Both those guys resigned, and those were the two guys we kept talking about. Who else? Like who else are you trading for? So I have a hard time criticizing them at all. I just don't. I don't think there was any available options. Another Lions fan question. I feel like we're totally underrated and overlooked. Why are they easy to disrespect? Was it the history, Goff, kneecaps? I think your guys are pretty highly thought of. I think when people say best teams in the NFC, Eagles are unanimous first pick right now. I feel like the Lions are really, really high up there. It's like you get a little pass this year, a million injuries. Now, I do think it's fair. Two new coordinators, but they got to have one of the best rosters in the NFL. I mean, all the guys are coming back. I think your history for sure. I mean, you guys were pretty bad for a long time. Can't help. But I don't think it's. I think I'd be pretty excited if I was a Lions fan. Why is nobody talking about the Commanders as a candidate for a sophomore slump? They remind me of the Texans last year, coming off a great season, rookie head coach and quarterback. Dan Quinn's not a rookie head coach, but I hear what you're saying. I know the Commanders made it to the title game, but the Texans also won a playoff game in their first year. The NFC East will have three good teams, and the Commanders are on a second place schedule, so it feels like they are poised for some regression. Not to mention everyone having more film on Jayden. Progression is not linear. I do think it's hard to guess regression teams. Like, I looked at the Texans this year. I thought they were going to be good. They add Danielle Hunter. Uh, you just thought like they were poised. CJ would take a next step. Turns out their offensive line sucked. What's his name? Tank Dell shatters his leg again. They clearly just weren't. They couldn't run the ball. I didn't see that coming. I mean, I had a bet on them to have the number one overall seed. So I guess sometimes it's like stocks. You gotta when everyone is betting, you gotta fade. I almost I had been I have a little bet on Rory, uh, but I was going to place one of the biggest wagers I ever have made on a golf tournament, on at least on an individual to win the last 24 hours. But everything I listened to was like Rory's going to win the Masters, Rory's going to win the Masters, Rory's going to win the Masters. And listen, I've lived long enough when everyone thinks one thing is going to happen when it comes to sports, when it comes to stocks, when it comes to just betting on something. That's usually when you get cautious. Like when everyone's freaking out, stock market, that's when you buy. Now, everyone's freaking out like the Dolphins are probably going to suck. Like, I agree. But it was like, I don't. So I got cold feet and I didn't do it. And I'm glad because we double bogeyed two of the last like four holes and shot even par. But the the Commanders are going to be one of those teams that everyone's going to pick next year to be really, really good. It's like I'm not going to. I kind of agree. Like we have 2 years now of Jayden playing at a high level. LSU 2 years ago dominated SEC, best player in the country by far. Last year, I mean, it was pretty remarkable to watch. And to me, it's not just like freelance plays. Like Deshaun, when he was at Houston and had like his breakout years, he was really good. But a lot of it was like outside the pocket. He was a great playmaker. He was just a great instinctive playmaker outside the tackles. A little like Russell Wilson. He was like a young version of prime Russell Wilson immediately, Deshaun was. But that's not that sustainable all the time. And then he lost his mojo and those plays don't happen anymore. You watch him now, he sucks. Jayden is not like some Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson freelance player. Sit him in the pocket, throw darts like he's Mahomes or Josh Allen or Matt Stafford. So it's like the way he plays. Now you would say the same thing for CJ. CJ was a pocket quarterback and it was just off. But Kingsbury has been calling plays for a lot longer. Now his scheme makes me a little nervous. But you add Debo, you add Tunzel. Terry's a really good player. You think their defense is going to be better. I mean, Dan Quinn's been doing this for a long time. I could see this happening. Them not being in the NFC title game, but having another playoff year. Here's my theory as to why people are so worked up over the NIL. It has everything to do with fans' investment in a singular team. I would argue that 90% of college football fans are captivated with one team. And they know about the other teams through the media that they consume and watching games. As someone who doesn't have a strong allegiance to a huge school, I think it makes perfect sense if you are way less worried about NIL. I totally agree. And I think you're right, right? I mean, most people I know that are diehard fans of a given team, a decent amount of them went to that school, or they grew up either in that area or their dad or parents or someone went to that school, right? You're right. They have a connection. So who's not freaking out about NIL? Texas fans, Ohio State fans, Oregon fans. Like there is Michigan fans, Penn State fans, like all the teams buying all the sweet players, Miami fans, Georgia fans, not really losing anybody. Beside the top like 6, 7 teams, Notre Dame feels like pretty cocky right now. Bama, LSU, some of these other teams kind of just feel a little on edge. It's like this used to be a little easier. USC, right? And obviously, if you're a fan of like that second tier, like Wisconsin, Iowa, trying to think, Boston College. I don't even know. I wouldn't put them on equal, but you know what I mean. It's like, God, is this a Mississippi State? Is this a fair fight? And the answer is no. So I'm totally with you. Like, if it was the NFL, if Steeler fans like, hey, this offseason, TJ and Minka just left. Minka signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, and TJ went to the Rams. Like, what are you fucking talking about? I'm like, oh yeah, the NFL for a year added the transfer portal, and your contract doesn't count. You'd be like, what? You people would be furious. So I think you hit the nail on the head. And as someone that, like you said, I don't have allegiance to any of these schools. I'm a Cal Poly Fresno State guy. I feel for Fresno State, but I also don't really feel bad. Like the Fresno States just aren't on the tier with these other programs. I honestly like I would have had no problem. Now Boise deserved to make it last year, but like the non-power four should not get a guaranteed seat at the table. I'd even argue like the Big 12, you shouldn't be guaranteed a team. And Arizona State showed out well, and I respect them what they did last year, but I think on a yearly basis, if you go like 10-3 just because you win the Big 12 doesn't mean that you get a seat at the table. You say the same thing for the ACC. It was pretty bad last year. Now, if you are a Miami fan or a fan of one of these other programs, you'd be like, "Shut up, John. We're getting automatic bids. We should get multiple teams." It's like, yeah, okay, I hear you. Well, then I watch SMU play Penn State and look like JV versus varsity. Like, I don't want to watch that. I care about being entertained. So I hear you. Good email. Have a great day. Adios, and enjoy the weekend.